everybody, my next guest is a comedian, writer, podcaster, and dating coach. He has worked with Adam Carolla on his Adam Carolla show and Loveline with Dr. Drew, as well as her own podcast, Kristen and Chill. She could also be seen all over the country performing stand-up comedy at a venue near you. Here she is, folks, Kristen Carney. Hey, Kristen, how you doing?
Hi, I'm good. Thanks for having me. I didn't realize your background wasn't a real background. I don't know if I'm exposing you.
Oh, no.
Your hair started to
My
disappear.
head. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was like,
Yeah.
that's a cool room. You're obviously in a cool basement or something. I need to get, because I look like I'm in a prison.
No, your background looks very nice and neat and tidy. Like if you saw my real background, you know, this is actually the set of Wayne's World.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. So I went that route and when COVID hit and all of us, I used to do my podcast out of the governor's podcast studios.
Yeah.
And then COVID, we all got stuck in our isolation. And then I just said, oh, let me throw an homage to like the first podcasters, you know, even though it wasn't like really a podcast, theirs was more of a public access show, but yeah, so I've had this ever since. So
I'm always wondering what people are hiding behind their fake background. I'm like, do they have dead bodies back there? What are they hiding?
I'll give you a peek of it real quick. This is a first. I've never shown anyone really. Let's see here. How do I here's what it actually looks like, so you could see how boring it is. And it's just like it's a messy little background of.
No, that's weird. It actually almost looks more fake than the other ones. It's that I would guess. I would say he's in front of something.
Right. Yeah. But you can see my name on the football over there. Where is it? That's Donald Sill. That's one.
Okay. Cool.
So it's my real background, and
it's not too shabby.
Yeah. It's it's a fun room, but this one is way cooler.
Yeah. That is cooler. Yeah.
But no, this is great having you on. We met kind of briefly at Governor's when you were there. It was awesome to see you there. A lot of comics out for a Sunday. I believe that was a Sunday night.
Yeah, Sunday night. I couldn't believe it. It was banging.
Yeah. And now do you frequent Governor's a lot, or is it kind of once in a blue moon you come out to Long Island?
That was actually my second time there. I was there Friday and I met James, and James invited me back to come on Sunday. And so that was only my second time. I'm kind of newish to the New York comedy scene. I've been to Governor's maybe twice recreationally with other comics. Like I knew friends that were going up, so I went to, hang out with them. But yeah, no, that was my second time going up there. Hopefully not my last. I kind of ate it at the end, and I was like, I wasn't that hungry, so I didn't really feel like eating it. But I lost him. I was trying to do a different set than I normally do, and I couldn't remember my next joke. And all of a sudden it was just like, just say something. And then I lost him, when I said something, and then you try to win him back. Then you run the light, and I forget there's no light there. They don't like the Governors. And I'm supposed to be up there for 10 minutes. Next thing I know, I was up there for 14 minutes. I was like, because I went in my head, wait, this is starting to feel long. I haven't seen a light yet. And then I went, oh my God, they don't give a light. So I'm eating it and I'm running the clock. So anyway, I hope James doesn't put a hit out on me.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know, outside of the comedy world, the taboos or whatever, or the game within the game of stand up. And, so when you're doing a set, sometimes they'll give you a X amount of time. And then most clubs will flash a light, and other ones, I guess, you're supposed to have your internal clock going, which is crazy. When you're in the zone or whatever, to keep track of time is not, you need that light, I think.
But I realized what made me think of it was when you're on the stage behind, there's like a little drop or something, and there's a clock, like there's a little clock there. And I wouldn't have even really thought how, about it too much. I mean, I was thinking this is getting long, but then when I glanced up, I saw a clock, and I went, oh my God, numbers mean time sometimes. And I am not following the right numbers. So I was, but that's okay. I'm still alive, hopefully.
No, you,
But I really
yeah,
I like it out there. It's really fun. I really like Long Island. I'm from way upstate. And so we've always had this like kind of, I don't know, idea of Long Island. You know, everyone has an idea of Long
right.
Island.
That this, what are some of the Long Island stereotypes you heard growing up about us?
Well, you know, I mean, a little bit. In my mind, like it's, you know, either very Italian, you know, a lot of gold chains kind of thing, a lot of
Yeah.
pizza, maybe a little bit Jewish. I don't know, but people that are very like real and, you know, hey, how are you? Kind of like thing.
Bro, what's up?
What's up, bro?
What's up, bro? Bro! Bro!
Now you kind of cut your teeth in comedy on the West Coast.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so I started in Chicago and then it was New York or LA. And I always make the wrong decision. So I went with LA. I was there for 10 years and it went
Wow.
by really fast. And every moment of those 10 years, I was like, I just want to be in New York. I just want to be in New York. And I'm just a master procrastinator. It took me 10 years, you know, to decide.
Yeah, that's
It's like,
you
I
kept
know I
saying
hate this.
tomorrow a lot. There was a lot of tomorrows. I'm leaving
Yeah.
tomorrow. I'm leaving tomorrow.
Yep. Added up to 10 years. So
I live in LA and there's tons of strip clubs, of course, because there's a lot of out of work actresses. But there's always the sign that says Gentlemen's Club at the strip club. Right? Really? Seriously, guys? You're not wearing top hats. Can we take down the sign? Really? Gentlemen's Club?
So what was the LA scene like for you? You did all the big clubs out there, like the Laugh Factory and the Comedy Store and all them?
yeah, I would, you know, I kind of I'm a little bit of I don't know, I kind of chameleon my way through places. I don't even know if that's the right word. I would never really hang out at one specific place. I never really had one specific group of comics that I hung around. I kind of just like did this a little bit. So yeah, it was, you know, up at the Laugh Factory a decent amount. I would go to I would be up at the Laugh Factory in Long Beach a lot. And the Comedy Store is like, you know, kind of like that frat situation where you kind of have to pledge. So I never went through like the pledging. I just would go up because they have, you know, different rooms. So I was there a decent amount. I was just there upstairs. I was
Right,
never
right. That's the belly room up there, right?
belly room. Yeah. So I would always chug stuff to make sure I fit in to have a little bit of a belly. I was like, we have to be a little, a little roly poly to be up here. Is that what it is? So yeah, and then like I ran a little show at the Improv for a little while and stuff like that. So
Oh,
I
cool.
went around and I knew like, and I worked with Corolla and I knew Corolla was kind of my like the place that I wanted to end up because he kind of is like that in a way. Like just, you know, he does his own thing and I do my
Yeah.
own thing. And I was like, Adam's my guy. Like he's my comedy guy. So I was really, you know, grateful that I ended up getting to work with him for a little while and everything.
I'm standing here with the man of the pirate ship, Adam Carolla. What are you drinking tonight, Adam?
Maker's Mark.
Where's the Mangria?
Wow, thanks, Kristen. I appreciate that.
I love Adam Carolla. He's just one of those guys that, you know, for me as a young guy, I always kind of looked up. I always loved stand-up comics and funny people and things. But a guy like Adam Carolla seems like, you know, he's got all the attributes that that I wanted to be when I was a young guy. And he was a boxer. He's no sports. He's funny. He doesn't take any crap. He's, you know, he can give it as good as you can get it. And so I just always kind of admired him as well, and still to this day, still, you know, doing his thing, standing behind his, you know, his beliefs, and regardless of, you know,
he doesn't. Hollywood cannot break that seal of you know, of authenticity. You know, he's going to be who he is, and some, you know, that's so rare. So yeah, I respected that so much, and I've respected it since like the day I heard him. Yeah, so it was like as a teenager. I mean, I didn't know much about him when he was on Loveline, but I just remember thinking, this guy, like this guy gets it. He gets it. And so
you talk about
yeah,
salt of the earth. Yeah.
yeah. And it's crazy because someone, you would think he grew up in North Hollywood. You just hear the word Hollywood. How could someone really be salt of the earth? Then you see North Hollywood And you're like, oh, I get it. The word Hollywood doesn't erase poverty. And so, tough salt of the earth upbringing.
How did you meet Adam Carolla? Like, how did that start up? Like, what was like do you remember the first time you met him and how that happened?
Yeah, I had my sights set on podcasting because of him, and he was one of the first podcasters, so it was pretty early on. And I was taking these hosting classes, and they're hosting classes like if you were on the red carpet interviewing celebrities, like, tell us what dress you're wearing.
Oh, they have classes for that? That's
yeah,
that's awesome.
Taught by this woman named Marky Costello, who's Abbott and Costello. She's the granddaughter of Costello.
What?
Yeah,
that's
I don't
crazy.
know if she got into the hosting thing. But
welcome to Markywood, because if Marky would, then it's Hollywood. Fame is a bitch.
She was, putting on these classes, and one of the girls in the class asked me if I wanted to co-host on a podcast network owned by this woman, Maria Menounos. I don't know if you know who Maria Menounos.
Yeah, she used to be on the E channel, right? She was like did all like the clubs, the parties. Very good looking Spanish woman.
Well, she's Greek, but that could kind of look Spanish.
Okay, right.
Racist. No, no, she's beautiful. She's Greek. Her and her husband, then fiance, had a podcast network called AfterBuzz TV, and basically it was to review television shows, and they were kind of jumping into the podcasting world because they could see the potential behind it, and they needed all these hosts. So this girl was like, would you host over there? And I said, of course.
Do I look awkward?
Hey guys, I'm Kristen Carney, and welcome to the show where we bring you to the best concerts so you don't have to fear contracting an STD. This is In Front of the Music.
And the lighting in the studio was amazing. I've never looked more attractive. I only showed up for the lighting. I was like, I don't even care about podcasting anymore. I just want to sit in this amazing lighting. I got so many screenshots. Oh God. And so I was talking about Carolla and saying, I'm a big Adam Carolla fan, and her fiance walked into the studio as I said that, and he was like, did I just hear someone say Carolla? And I said, yeah, me. And I said, I want to co-host with him or something. And he, her fiance, Maria Menounos' fiance, his name is Kevin Undergaro. He's an incredible businessman, and he's really done wonders. I mean, Maria would be successful really regardless, but he is really inventive and really smart in business. So he's always hustling and all of that. So he said, let me introduce you to Carolla. He didn't know Carolla yet, and he was trying to hook up or meet Carolla. So he said, I'm going to have someone from his network come over and do a podcast over here, and we'll start intermixing worlds, and I'll try to get you to meet Carolla. So that's basically kind of how it happened. His people kind of started intermixing with the AfterBuzz people. And then I started my own podcast and had a relationship with the people at Carolla's, and they worked with a podcast network called Podcast One, and they hooked us up, my friend and I, to do this podcast called Ask Women. It's a dating advice podcast. So Carolla's people got us involved through that. And so I just started, having, it felt like a full, nice relationship. And then his co-host at the time eventually was let go. And so I became the fill-in co-host. They already had hired a co-host before I auditioned. So I auditioned and became the fill-in co-host. And then I did writing for that. And then I was doing writing for them as well.
About 400,000 downloads a day. Do you ever get sick of talking, or do you ever wake up in the morning and you're like, no, I don't want to do this?
No.
That's cool. That's and how many episodes and stuff, like how long were you a part of the team over there?
It was, kind of like on and off. So it would be whenever the Gina, the sidekick, whenever she couldn't be there, and she had a radio gig for a while, so she had some stuff come up with the radio gig. So she was out a decent amount, and so every time she was out, I would go in, and then eventually that slowed down. But she I'm trying not to make this boring. I could just picture my ex-boyfriend being like, too many details, get the story going. Like, come on, get
No, this is I'm into it.
So it was probably over the course of 4 years or so that I was in, like, I would do some writing and then do some hosting and then writing again. And so, yeah, it was probably, I would say like 4 years ish, and it would, come and go. It would be like a couple months I wouldn't hear from them, and then I would hear from them for, several months in a row. And then,
That's cool. So as a young podcaster now and trying to break in and be, do this, and here you are with, one of the OGs, CAROLLA, who kind of started the game, him, like a handful of guys. I think Rogan was on early on, and there's a couple others. What's that guy, Adam, from MTV, Adam Curry, with the big hair.
Oh, yeah.
He was one of the first. I think he coined the phrase podcast.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
I never knew that.
Yeah, because it used to be on the iPod, so they called it a podcast. And yeah. And I think, so I know those three guys were definitely like breaking ground in that. And now here you are, like, kind of under his wing. What, like, did you learn any, like, any do's and don'ts from that time period as far as podcasting? It still can, today, because now it feels like a lot more podcasts are out there, obviously. So it must be a lot of mistakes you're seeing or things like that.
Yeah, well, I think I learned get in and get out in terms of just me working with him specifically. I know that doesn't apply to all podcasts, but if you go on a tangent with him, this powerhouse who can just roll over anybody with words, you just know to pick the right moment. And so my friend he said, you're like a sniper on the show. Like, you kind of just know exactly when to, like, think, and then you're out, and then you think out. So I learned that if I talked too much, he was not going to be happy, regardless of who you were. So when I listen to podcasts, I'll listen for that, and right now I'm being a hypocrite, because I'm like, if someone talks too much, it gets old for the audience or whatever. So that's what I'm doing right now. So, so I should be a sniper here and just take myself out. But yeah, so in terms of that, I learned brevity was really important in podcasting. Actually, Adam's podcasts would go long because he could make them go long. But if you were a new podcaster, it was better to keep them to about 45 minutes or under. Otherwise, people wouldn't really finish the shows or something. Like, you could get more ad bang for your buck for some reason with 45 minutes. So our show that I do now, we keep around 45 minutes. But with Adam's show, it had like a radio kind of vibe. And so that was different than the other podcasts. And so now Adam has transitioned from the radio vibe, where he had the sidekick and he's got the sound guy, because he came from radio.
Right. Yeah.
And when I was in LA, that's why I wanted to work with him, because I knew of him, but for some reason I was awake early and in the car. And this was long enough ago where the default was kind of the radio. No, I don't think I had a smartphone at that point yet. I don't think most people did.
Right.
And so, I mean, I usually sleep until like 1 o'clock. So I have no idea why I was hearing his morning show. I can't fathom what was getting me out of bed at 8 a.m. or something, to be a productive human. It was
just that good of a show. You couldn't miss it.
Yeah. I wanted to sit in LA traffic for 4 hours. That's a bit of a show he had. But when I would listen to it, Teresa Strasser was his sidekick, and I loved her. And I was like, oh my God, I want to be Teresa. That's how I found out about it. So that radio station he was on took off all of the talk shows, and it just went straight to music. And so that's when Adam started the podcast. So it transitioned basically the same from, the radio format to the podcast, kept the radio format. Now, he doesn't have a co-host anymore. He doesn't have Gina. He doesn't have Bald Brian. And he's doing the kind of more Joe Rogan style thing, more intimate. So I think I'm learning with podcasts that people really do like more of that intimate style, where it feels like just listening in on a private conversation versus a show, the production. So
I tell you, I love both. Like, as far as that goes, I always wanted to be in radio my whole life. Right. I loved radio, and then and I went to school for it and stuff. But then when I tried to get jobs, they said my accent, I used to have you might still hear it, but it used to be real heavy, my Long Island accent.
Because I can definitely hear it. So it must have been.
Yeah, it was.
It must have deafened people before.
But I was inspired. But my heroes were all Long Island guys. Like it was, Howard Stern. And I wouldn't say Opie and Anthony were my heroes, but they were definitely because at that point we're close to the same age. They were a little older than me, and I was had a college show right when they started their show in New York. But yeah, so I was seeing it was real for me. I was like, I could really do this. And then and I had a show in college for a while, and then but the podcasting world all of a sudden kind of took off by storm. And I like that too. But like you said, there are two different worlds. Some things just play better in that radio format, and some things just play better in podcast format. It's weird.
Yeah, it is weird. There's a picture, like a meme or something that I've seen on the internet, and it's people like these three, I don't know, girls talking or something, and all laughing together in this cheesy kind of billboard picture. I don't know if they're sharing ice cream or something. And then there's someone standing in front of it, like, not in the picture, but they're like this, like enjoying the fun. And it just says me listening to podcasts or,
That's great. Yeah.
You kind of feel like you're part of the people with podcasts or something. Like you feel, I mean, same with, Stern to an extent, but they feel a little bit disconnected in a way. It's like, this is a show and this is what they do and this is their thing. Whereas with other podcasts, some podcasts, like you do feel like you're just kind of on the inner circle, even though you're not.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that really draws people in.
Yeah, that's cool. And yeah, you have your show, and what did you with your show? You tackle mainly like depression and stuff like that?
So I have a little bit of a confusing podcast history. So I have a podcast called Ask Women, and I emphasize the K because it sounds like ass women.
Right.
You could get so many more downloads if it was Ass Women.
Ass women.
Yeah. But they wouldn't allow the name if they actually saw how big our asses were. They'd be like, no ass women. So that's a dating show, a dating advice show. And I started that with my friend. She was a relationship expert. And I just wanted to get into podcasting. I was doing a little bit of that after Buzz TV, but I wanted to do my own thing. And I knew you couldn't just be another a nobody comic just talking. Like, how are you going to build a fan base? So sorry. So I knew you needed a theme or a niche or whatever. And so I met this girl who was a relationship coach, and we did this video for a website called askmen.com.
Right. Yeah.
It's like an Esquire kind of thing for men online, like a men's magazine type thing.
Right. Yeah.
So they had us do a video called Ask Women, where the guys were asking questions and getting women's take on things. And I said to the girl who was hosting it, the relationship coach, this should be we should do this as a podcast, and she was like, that's a good idea. So it's been 10 years that we've been doing that podcast.
Hey, we're Kristen and Marnie from the Ask Women podcast.
And this is the Loveline High Five.
Who was your first celebrity crush?
My first celebrity crush?
Leonardo DiCaprio, and I'm still having dreams about him today.
Yeah.
I don't really promote, I never really talk about it. It's kind of just like, I forget that I even do it. I mean, I do it once a week, every week, for 10 years. And so that's how I have gotten into the dating business. So I'm a dating coach, but I'm really a banter coach. That's how I started. I teach guys how to banter with women, and it actually works. Believe me, I didn't believe myself at first, but it does work. And then I had another podcast called Kristen, chill, like Kristen chill, like relax, because I'm neurotic and whatever. It originally was about mental health, and it was called Mentally Chill, with the ILL in parentheses.
Right. Ill. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's, I always never really know how to tackle this, but my co-host, she was amazing. Her name was Stevie Ryan. She committed suicide.
An actress and comedian who openly battled depression has taken her own life. Ryan discussed her battle with depression on a podcast she co-hosted called Mentally Chill. On her last episode, she mourned the loss of her grandfather and said watching his health deteriorate was the hardest thing she's ever had to deal with. Stevie Ryan was 33.
God,
So
sorry to hear that. When was
yeah,
this?
it was in 2017, and we were taping our, we were doing the podcast, and like every week her and I were talking about depression. I've struggled with depression since I was about 19, and she was having a hard time with it. She had a show on VH1 for a couple years for 2 seasons called Stevie TV.
Stevie TV. New series premieres March 4th at 11 on VH1.
She was one of the first YouTube stars, and she was actually always embarrassed of that. She wasn't proud of that, but she was incredible, and she had so many fans, and she was like the first of her kind. She paved the way for YouTube people.
Wow.
And so she ended up getting her own TV show. She was like, it was a sketch comedy show, and beautiful, talented, funny, charismatic, charming, everything that you'd want to be. And so we were doing our podcast, and in the middle of it, not the actual taping, but in the middle of our doing the podcast, she took her own life, and
Wow.
it was really dramatic. So
how did did she get up and go to the bathroom, or right there in front of
no,
you?
no, not during the podcast. While her and I were co-hosting this podcast generally.
Right. Okay.
Time frame. So we taped every Wednesday. I think we were taping every Wednesday, and she ended up committing suicide on a Friday. So I'd seen her on Wednesday. So
I'm sorry. That's people, got to understand that the depression is real, and and here you are having a podcast that deals with this subject, and you would hope that it would be cathartic.
Well, that's what that's what's so crazy is, you never know what's going on behind, not even just closed doors, but you never even know what's going on, behind someone's eyes. Like, she looked so bright and renewed. She seemed happy. She seemed, and so it was a surprise to me. But the Wednesday that I did see her, she looked bad that Wednesday. She looked extra thin, very pale. Her grandfather had just passed away, and you kind of just think, her grandfather just passed away. She's really sad. He was like a father to her. But other than that, she was talking about getting new headshots and going back out on auditions and getting a new agent and all of this stuff that she was doing. So it seemed like there was, future. When you're looking toward the future, that's a big sign or a big tell, because with depression, really what it is the inability to envision a future for yourself. There's no hope. It's like, at least you're not envisioning a happy future. And so it came as a surprise, even though, she had history. And we had taped an episode of about suicide, because we were running out of ideas. Every week we wanted to have a different idea, and we were talking about depression casually because we were both comics, and that was just our vibe. So we would talk about we don't want to go on like lithium because that makes you gain weight, and the only time we're happy is when we're skinny. So we're so starving. We're ironically starving for happiness. So our happiness comes to us when we look like we're starving to death. So why would we go on present? Well, yeah, it might help our brain chemistry, but it won't help our body chemistry in terms of fitting into clothes. So anyway, we would joke around stuff like that, where we'd be really real and authentic. So
I remember I had depression. I still suffer from it. I think everyone has a little bit of depression here and there, but for me, I was really going, I don't know how many years ago this was, maybe close to 20 years ago. It was a really bad place. And the doctor put me on Prozac, and I was afraid to go on Prozac because at the time I was writing, I was doing a lot of stuff, and I was afraid it was going to mess up my creativity. And I just remember it felt like I was sacrificing a part of myself to cure this part of myself.
Right.
And so I understand that, what you're saying about starving, to be happy, so to speak.
Right.
And it's like that too. It's like, oh, well, I'll stay depressed because that's where I'm getting all the great creativity, the sad clown, the starving artist, all of those kind of cliches that come into play. But, have you ever done any of meds, or did it affect your creativity or your funny?
Yeah, I've been on antidepressants on and off. And you know what? They never, for me, if I'm really depressed, I'm not creative because I can't even get out of bed.
Right.
So
Yeah.
how am I going to be creative when I can't even get out of bed? So for me, I'm the most creative when my brain does have some dopamine and serotonin and things happening. It basically feels like a light switch is either on or off. And if it's in the off position, I'm not, my depression doesn't feed me at all. So any antidepressants I've been on have been like mild-ish, but they've done enough to just get me out of bed. I haven't been like, oh, this is great, I love life. Like, like if I got to that point, then I would lose my creativity. Like the minute I'm actually really happy, I can't see there's no nuance to anything anymore. That's what my fear is, so part of me wants to really be happy, but then, then goes out the window any personality. I'll just be a happy, annoying person who, hey guys, like when I see someone who looks actually happy, I'm like, are they mentally ill? They're the mentally ill ones, not me.
Yeah.
I'm realistic. I'm seeing shit for what it really is. They're nuts.
If you're fucking happy and you motherfucking know it, clap your motherfucking hands. If you're fucking happy and you motherfucking know it, clap your motherfucking hands. If you're fucking happy and you motherfucking know it, and you really motherfucking want to motherfucking show it. If you're motherfucking happy and you motherfucking know it, clap your motherfucking hands.
The thing with depression is you question, like, how selfish am I? There's all these bad things going on, and these people have, like, I could be a hostage in a war right now, and I've got, a place to live, and I'm young and I'm healthy. Well, I shouldn't say I'm young, but I mean, and maybe I'm not that healthy either, but like, whatever. I have like, I'm okay, so you then undermine your own feelings, which is good to an extent. It's healthy to an extent, you want to be realistic. And always, I think the best thing for depression is taking opposite action, because what you want to do when you're depressed is not what you should do. So if you let yourself wallow, yes, there are chemicals that are, not correct in your brain, but you're also feeding those chemicals by doing exactly what they're telling you to do. So if you do the opposite, which is, go to the gym and eat healthy and socialize, even though that's the last thing you want to do, it will help. So, you can't feed the beast, basically. And, like I know for me, I've gone into bouts where I just feed the beast, and my beast is one hairy motherfucker. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear. So, I try as best as I can to not feed it. And Stevie, she actually was, I don't want to give this treatment a bad name or anything, but they took her off her medication, like almost cold turkey, as she was doing this treatment called TMS, which is transcranial magnetic stimulation.
TMS. That stands for transcranial magnetic stimulation.
This is the magnet. And what happens is electricity runs through this magnet and it generates a magnetic field that's cone-shaped. And so we're actually able to stimulate a part of the brain with a magnetic field.
And it's a magnet that moves stuff around in your brain.
Oh, wow. Jeez.
And so it's very intense, but there's a lot of people have done it, like Neil Brennan, who's a comedian. I don't know if
I was going to bring up Neil Brennan because we'll get into that later, but his stand-up piece on depression is brilliant.
Yeah, so he's always struggled with it. He's done TMS. Gary.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's another comedian, Gary Gallman. I don't know if
I love Gary.
TMS or if he did like electro thing.
Wow.
And then I know a few other comics who have done TMS and have had good results. I think Neil Brennan had great results for a while, if I'm remembering correctly, but Stevie was doing TMS at the time of her suicide, like she was doing it. One of her last Instagram posts was of her with the magnet on her head, and she was like flirting with the guy in a really fun way and teasing and whatever.
Right.
And so I'm not blaming that on her, it was just odd timing, but she had been on Prozac. They took her off of Prozac quickly.
Yeah.
she was doing this TMS. So,
you got to wean off Prozac. You can't cold turkey that.
Right. So, yeah.
Would you ever do anything like that to your brain? I don't know if I would want to do the magnet thing to my brain.
It seems a little intense. I actually have a friend so I was fine for a while. I went through I lost my mom, and so I went into
God bless. Sorry.
Thank you. So I feel things very deeply, and some people grieve, they just grieve the way they grieve. I was very much in the depths of like despair. Sorry, not to like bring the show down. And so when my mom passed away, I wasn't on antidepressants, and I had to go on them after we lost her unexpectedly. And then I ended up getting into a relationship, and it was at the beginning, it was like my dream relationship, and it took me out of the depths of grief, and I felt like, oh my God, I can live again. I'm actually a person again, because for 2 years I was locked away, just like watching videos on like death and dying, and it was not good. And so I got into a relationship, and it was like, again, my like dream relationship. Went off my antidepressant. I was doing okay. I felt like pretty stable. And then we broke up a few months ago. And so that kind of sent me, downward, and it was like a necessary breakup, but that put me back on antidepressants. So sometimes I wonder, for me, is it circumstantial? Is it just chemical, or is it circumstantial? Because when I felt like I was in a great place in that relationship, all of a sudden I just had this lifting off, this 1,000 pounds lifted off my shoulders, because I was finding happiness in that person, and it was like a dream wish come true kind of thing. And so I fell back into it again. I kind of say, I don't know if I did TMS, I don't know if it would really work for me, because I don't know if it's a circumstantial thing right now or a chemical thing. I did do ketamine infusions. Have you ever heard of the ketamine treatments for depression?
I heard of it, but what is it exactly?
Well, ketamine is a party drug, basically. And they started in the early 80s testing like psychedelics and things like that to treat depression in small doses. So it's microdosing. And they found that there was some success there. So we talked about, like on my depression years ago, or on my podcast years ago, we did talk about microdosing and stuff. So it's been around now for probably 10-ish years.
Right.
It's now much more popular, but it's not really totally legal in most places, but ketamine is legal. And so ketamine it's not like a mushroom, it's man-made or whatever, but it's a party drug, but they do it in small doses. And
are these prescribed, or you got to get these like?
Well, you can get like a nasal spray. You can get, I think there's like a pill, but this specifically is a very intense treatment where it's intravenous. So you go in, they put it in your vein, you lay there for an hour, and you get high, but it's a small enough dose that you don't get like so crazy high, but you get high. And it's supposed to basically almost, I guess, I'm not an expert at all, but it's supposed to almost like wipe your hard drive clean. So the visual would be, if you're looking at a ski mountain, and there's curves, or there's grooves made in the snow, our thoughts all go down those same grooves. So the ketamine is supposed to like wipe those grooves clean, so you can be like the neuroplasticity can do its thing, which is basically recarve new grooves so that your thoughts aren't all in that dark path that they're generally on.
Right. Yeah.
So some people say they have great success with it. I only did 4 treatments. You're supposed to do 6. And I stopped after 4 because I found out the place that I was going to was giving me very low doses compared to other places. And I felt like it was not the right place for me. It's very expensive. So spending all this money, and all of a sudden I find out, oh my God, my friend was getting, they do it based on weight, but like my friend started off at 65 milligrams. I started out at 25. She ended at like 85. I had only worked up to 35. I'm paying the same or more. So I stopped, which was kind of a mistake, because you're not really supposed to see effects until after the 6th treatment. So I wasted a lot of money only just doing 4. And so now I'm like, do I restart or do I not? I don't know if it's chemical. I don't know if it's just substantial. So, but that's another option. The TMS though is scary. I had a friend offer up, there's a clinical trial going on or something, and you have to qualify for it. But he sent me the information in the email to do it. And I'm like, I don't know if I can really take that step.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you have severe depression, and if you have like your really dark thoughts, or you can't get out of bed, or you can't function in life, maybe something like that, like putting the magnets and moving your things, your brain around and things like that, maybe that's the solution. But like, I think for a lot of people who have depression or anxiety or any of those type of issues, maybe regular old school Prozac, or any of this, was it Zoloft, and those types of things could do the trick. Look, with Prozac, I just remember feeling like I was underwater. Like I just was like, then I started feeling like people taking advantage of me because I was being so nice.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, whatever you want.
Yeah. See, I've never felt that affected. And I've been on higher. I mean, they've been medium-ish doses, but I have gone higher up. And I don't know if I just have a tolerance or something, because I never felt nicer on Prozac. Maybe I'm just already so nice. I've
there you go.
Top level of niceness. I can't go past it. But that's good for them. I'm sure people around you were like, no, keep taking it. They're shoving the pills down your throat.
Yeah, they were like, why you getting off of them? What are you doing?
Yeah. So when did you go off of it, or when did you stop having to kind of struggle with it?
Well, I was struggling with it, and for me too, it was depression, it was sadness, and it was also I would have outbursts, like anger, like if somebody crossed me up, what are you doing?
It does help with that. It does.
Yeah, it definitely helped with that, and then also just growing, evolving, and kind of helped me deal with that stuff, like road rage, for instance. I'll drive in the middle lane. I won't drive in the left lane, because then if somebody comes up my butt or whatever, so it's like, all right, I'll just avoid all of that. Just drive in the middle lane, and that's kind of my mantra. Like, I'll just drive.
But you do that now?
Yeah, still to this day. So
you're giving other people road rage, so you don't get road rage?
I'll just drive in the middle lane. I'll stay with the traffic, with the flow of traffic.
The middle lane. Okay, I'm sorry. I was thinking you meant like over line, like you would drive within the 2 lanes.
Oh, no, I'm
like what an asshole.
That would be a real asshole thing. No, if there's a 3-lane highway, let's say, instead of there's the passing lane, and there's the I would just stay right in the middle lane, just drive speed limit or whatever, and just kind of coast with the flow of traffic, instead of being in the fast lane where all the maniacs are. And then, because that's what would trigger road rage, would be if someone's up my butt,
right,
or they're going too slow and I'm trying to go fast. So that was one of the ways I coped in that kind of thinking of, all right, I'm just gonna, okay, so this guy cut me in line. Yeah.
Right. I'm just gonna breathe and I'm not gonna engage. Right. I had the same issues for a while. I was pretty feisty. And I think maybe the past 5 years or so I've lessened, but I mean, if someone budged someone in line at the store, or if someone was on someone's ass, I mean, I would just I had this run-in with a man, a scary one. I was leaving an LA Kings game, one of the hockey games. It was back when I lived in LA.
Yeah.
And all these guys that are parking the cars, we were trying to get our car, and we were in a lot that was stacked parking. And so these poor guys that are running, they're all these, these Mexican dudes that are doing whatever they can to survive and to get by. And they are working their asses off to get everyone their keys in their car and get the cars out. So this guy gets his keys somehow. He walks straight to his car and turns his lights on. I watched him, and there's a long line of people. So he comes back, and then he budges in front of everybody. So he turns his lights on in his car, which is just weird. And then he budged everyone. And all of a sudden I could feel my heart just like, I am turning into the Hulk. And like, I'm such a dweeb that no one knows I'm turning into the Hulk, but I can feel it coming. And so he cuts everyone in line, and I'm just like, okay, just stay calm, stay quiet, stay calm, stay quiet. But if I see an injustice, I am like, I'm going to take you out. You and your entire family better not sleep comfortable at night. Like, and so he said to one of the attendants, he was like, you guys left my lights on. I want my money back. Like, I'm not paying or whatever.
Oh, wow.
And I was just like, and I just, well,
That guy deserved it.
Yeah, he deserved it. I called him out. I said, you turned on your lights. I said, you're trying to take money from these poor guys. But I mean, I was using like expletives, and I was like yelling. We got in each other's faces, where one of the attendants had to like hold him back from me because I was being so feisty with him. But like, I couldn't take people treating people badly. I never got into anything physical, but like, I would just verbally be like, hey, someone's talking at the movies.
That gets me. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I remember saying to these kids, they were like 7th graders or something, and they were just talking the whole time. They were throwing popcorn. It was like out of a bad movie, how they were acting. And, and I was just like, hey, because they were like teasing each other. I was like, if you guys want to play with each other's weenies, go to your parents' basement and do it. They have to say like weird random shit, but I just could not keep my mouth shut in those scenarios. But it's been a while, many years now, where and I think that the antidepressants helped. It kept my feistiness in check. I stopped getting so angry over that stuff, and I would let it slide. I'd see it. I would just go, okay, there's nothing I can do. And my family had to intervene, because they're like, you're going to get yourself killed. Because I would say stuff like, these guys are like dealing drugs. And I was like, you're making our society shit, like, yeah, like, they're like, are you insane? So, yeah. So
sometimes the Hulk comes in handy. And sometimes I miss that Hulk, but I think that I'm better. Like, nobody liked the angry Don. No one says, hey, where's that pissed off guy? They like this version.
Yeah. But I used to do it in a way almost as an homage to my heroes. Like, I felt like Larry David or Adam Carolla, like they would call that shit out.
Right.
And so in a way, I felt like this is how I, relate to the world, and through, the people that I admire, and they would maybe do the same thing, but probably not. They would just do it on a TV show for money. I'm stupid doing it for nothing in public, so yeah, it's good to get out of that kind of, that kind of downward, not a spiral, but it's just, once you allow yourself to get, a little bit of that road rage style stuff, it's hard to, get out of it. So yeah, it's much better being out of it.
True indeed. And I think you're, I don't know you that well, but I think you look like you're doing great to me. I mean,
Again, looks can be deceiving. No,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just, like you said, just stay strong and always kind of do the opposite of what your instincts will tell you to do.
Like George Costanza.
Yeah, opposite day. Look at what that got him.
I have to go all chicken salad on rye, because tuna on toast is getting me nowhere. So yeah, I have to go opposite.
I always have tuna on toast. Nothing's ever worked out for me with tuna on toast. I want the complete opposite of tuna on toast.
Kristen Carney, thanks so much for doing this with me, and it was a blast talking to you, and hopefully we get you back on again soon, and we can talk more about the fun stuff, the dating stuff, and all that. But this is always cathartic.
Absolutely.
It's so appreciate you. Tell everybody where they can find you and follow you and see your upcoming shows and stuff.
Cool. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure. And they can find me on Instagram at Chris Carn, KRISCARN. And my website, kristenandchill.com, which is actually my dating website. That's a little confusing because my podcast is Kristen, Chill. And my dating business is Kristen and Chill. It's really dumb. I need to fix it. So anyway, kristenandchill.com. If anyone needs help with their online dating or their banter, gets you dates. And other than that, you can just find me in bed sleeping.
You're the best. Thank you so much, Kristen.
Thank you so much for having me.
Carney, everybody.